Hey everybody. I figured I'd give you a little story that I learned when I was in the Marine Corps. Something that my Master Gunnery Sergeant, Nyman was his name, semi-respectable individual. And I say that only because it's like, I can only know a man so much, especially at that hierarchy. Found out that he and I have some kind of relation. His mother was a Munson before she was married. So at least somewhere down the line, he and I have blood. But anyhow, that didn't really get me any special favors. By no means. Anyhow, at one point he tried telling us a story about monkeys. Technically he explained it as chimpanzees, but in this case I'm going to use monkeys. So, one day, a scientist decides they want to know what happens if they put a bunch of monkeys in a room and spray them a bunch of times with water, ice cold water. They realize that the reactions were a certain way. So then they decide, well, can we get them to not want to go for a banana at the top of a ladder? So they tried. Monkeys would go for it. And just for the sake of the story, there are 3 monkeys. So these 3 monkeys would try to race up the ladder, climb over each other just to get to this banana that's suspended in the air. They would get sprayed down each time, until eventually it would only be one at a time. And whoever would go up there, that one monkey would get sprayed. And then the next day they do the same. And then the next day they try something different. This time they would only spray all of them if one of them went up there. So if one tried to climb the ladder, all of them would get sprayed with cold water. And eventually none of them would climb the ladder. Then the day after that, they take out one monkey and put a new monkey in. This new monkey doesn't know any better. So this new monkey sees the banana, climbs the ladder, all the monkeys get sprayed. Then those monkeys kick the shit out of that monkey. And then the next day, that same monkey has now learned that each time it goes up there, the other monkeys will kick its ass so that none of them get sprayed with cold water. And then the day after that, another monkey's taken out and a new monkey's put in. Same process, but this time, the monkeys kick the shit out of the new monkey before it can go up the ladder. Even before there was a fruit that was up there. And eventually a new monkey is placed in after another older monkey is removed. And now all 3 of the monkeys that are in there weren't even in the original experiment. And they're beating up on every single new monkey that comes in, whether there was a fruit in there or not. That's how a system works. That's how, at least from what it was being explained to me, that's how the Marine Corps is. There's a bunch of policies, standards, ideals that are upheld, whether the first ones that went through them set those standards are even there, to the point where everyone just thinks they need to shit on each other all the time because they think it's protocol instead of a learning lesson. So, I guess the reason why I'm trying to impart this to you is because in that moment I realized he was trying to tell us why everything sucked. Obviously, those monkeys were us. Those people, those Marines, those subordinates to him. We were the monkeys. He was the scientist. Ultimately speaking, he wasn't always the bad guy, but there was a system in place where we all had to feel like shit. Being in the military, you have to get shit on. To be an NCO, you have to humiliate people that work underneath you. You have to. Or else you get humiliated. You get made fun of. You get yelled at and bitched at and have your ass chewed. That's how it works. And all I can say to all of you, beware. Don't forget, there is a scientist involved. It's an experiment. Before there is an issue, before blaming those who are in the issue, realize there's someone outside of that issue paying attention. And that person paying attention could be the reason why you're having an issue. Why I brought this up? Well, when I first joined, the act sucked, but there was a standard. Every group had their own thing. There was a bunch of rednecks. There was a section just to them. There was a bunch of Hispanics that grew up in like the hood. They had their own section. Same thing with the blacks and so on and so forth. And that sounds segregated, doesn't it? But when you think about it, that's unit cohesion. They understand each other. They come from the same neck of woods. Rednecks or whoever else. They know how to talk to each other. They know how to work together. They can just do it quickly with no issue on social, no issues on communication. So, whenever we had an Israeli infiltrator come in, that's when everything started to change. Like, rapidly change. After this guy started to rise ranks a little bit, and he started to speak into certain higher-ups' ears, he eventually became that scientist. And after that, every section would have a certain rotation. People would get changed out, and only be a few people. To the point where no one wanted to deal with each other. No one wanted to talk with each other. Everyone was angry at each other. It was just division. To the point where everyone was just yelling at each other to get the job done and not worry about what the job means. What it's supporting. Where that ammunition is going. Before that, not only would you get the job done, but everyone would talk about like, hey, so where's this going to? What unit's picking this up? What are they going to do? Is this going to be just a machine gun shoot? Are they learning to do something? Are they preparing for something? What is it? After that, no one would know, nor do they care. No one would want to ask questions because they didn't want to deal with each other. After an Israeli infiltrator came through, everything changed. Sure, it sucked before, but after he came, everything got worse. And the suicides came. Sometimes it's better just to wake up and realize that social biases are what they are. They're gonna happen. But when you have to deal with people who take advantage of that, they're not doing it simply because of cultural appropriation. They're doing it so they can get a leg up above us. Because they understand the social nature just enough to realize that people won't pay attention to what they're doing. They will only pay attention to the strife that they go through. And therefore evil can be done by their own hands. And they'd be more worried about whether or not they get to go home in time and see their family. Whether or not they'll get to have time to go drink, to play games, whatever. Wake up, America. We don't have a race problem. We have an infiltrator problem. An infestation of people who use culture as an excuse to control us and divide us amongst ourselves. I'm not advocating for segregation by no means. I am, however, saying that there are people who want us eating away at each other so that they can make profit off of us. And because of that, we were able to send munitions to ISIS. My hands were on that. The rounds that were fired downrange had probably killed civilians because I sent them. I pray to God that He forgives me for that. Let's stop this. Break the machine. Fuck the ladder. Fuck fighting the other monkeys. Be the smart monkey who breaks open that window, pulls that scientist out, and beat the shit out of him for starting this bullshit. God bless.